Seguimos en el Mobile World Congress, esta vez nos visita la empresa Opera Software, que evidentemente ustedes conocen muy bien, y tenemos con nosotros a Jon Tetzchner, apologies for that, y él es el co-founder de la empresa Opera Software. Vamos a cambiar al inglés para hablar con él, porque el tema de los browsers en los teléfonos móviles es un tema muy importante y muy delicado a partir de ahora en adelante. Jon, thank you for joining us, and apologies for my, messing your name completely.
I managed to mess it up just fine myself. So
okay, so I'll give you a little help.
Just, thanks.
All right. So Jon, tell us, there's a lot of discussion about smartphones and the fragment. Actually, yesterday I think the operators were discussing how there's some sort of a fragmentation in terms of applications, because you run one application on Android and the developer has to do that on iPhone and web OS or whatever.
Yep.
And they're talking about HTML5, and probably the browser is going to play a role, if I'm not mistaken, in how the applications are going to be in the future. So I don't know if you can provide your take on how the future is going to like in terms of the browser being the gateway to the applications.
I think it makes a lot of sense. If you look at what's happened on the PC side, a number of years ago people were using native applications a lot. If you now ask a group of people, I do this whenever I'm doing talks, I ask, so how many of you are using more than 5 native applications? And typically the answer to that question is like 5%.
So native applications, 5%?
Yes.
Which mean, give me an example. Like
Word, like MSN.
Okay.
So they're using a few. They're using something like Office.
Okay.
They are using maybe an MSN service. They may be using Skype. They may be using...
What are the other 95% you are using?
Well, they're just using the browser.
I see.
Okay.
I see. Gotcha.
Well, I mean, everyone,
on the PC world.
Yes.
Okay.
Everyone is using the browser. So the question is, are you using more than 5 native applications? Because I can tell you, you're using more than 5 websites.
Okay.
And you're actually using a lot.
Okay.
And that's really the point. On the PC side, where in the old days the choice of operating system was extremely important, you had to use a Windows PC. You could not use a Mac, you could not use a Linux computer, because then you would not be able to see and use the same stuff as your friends. Now that is more and more part of history, and it's something that's easy to forget. So on the PC side, things have changed dramatically. On the mobile side, yes, there is this fragmentation, and the fragmentation is worse than people think.
Yeah, I believe so, yes.
Because when you look at it, so you say, okay, it's the iPhone, it's Android, it's Windows Mobile.
That's on the high end.
Yes.
But if you go to feature phones...
80% of the phones are not part of the segment that people are talking about.
True.
And so if you want to write an application, you want it to run everywhere. The only realistic platform that can solve that is the web.
Okay, so HTML5 is obviously the future.
Yes.
I don't know if you remember, but at the beginning when the iPod was launched, the applications that were available were through the browser or through the web, not directly as an application that you downloaded. And it seemed that that model didn't quite work out at that time. And I think Steve Jobs even said, the market was not ready for this, so we needed to step backwards and go from a more complicated model. What is changing that is gonna actually create a situation in the market where users and the market is going to be ready to embrace? Because sometimes my sense is that sometimes the operators complain about fragmentation, and sometimes they want that fragmentation because they don't want anybody to gain too much power in one segment. So I mean, I'm just throwing a lot of things here, but what do you think the market is getting ready for HTML5 and break that fragmentation completely?
Well, I think, the fragmentation is making it difficult for a lot of people. I think you'll find that all the operators in general, my experience with the operators, they don't like this fragmentation. Okay. I think the developers, it's a problem for developers. Now, you may say as a developer, I would like to be able to do this and that, but if it only reaches 5% of the users, and if the cost of developing, you have to develop for every single platform, and these platforms are not even similar programming-wise, they're actually quite difficult. So if you have to go through all that motion just to provide your little application, which maybe has a user base, a potential user base of 1 million or 100,000, that's a significant investment to have to do multiple platforms. It doesn't scale for your application that maybe will cost $1 or $2 or $3. You can't build a business that way. So if you want to be able to reach a lot of people, you have to find a unified platform. And the only realistic unified platform is the web. A lot of the applications that are built for the iPhone and Android are basically using the web browser anyway, or are using web services where 90% of the hard lifting is happening through the web. So from that perspective, again, the benefit of using web standards is so huge, and there is nothing else. I mean, unless you want to see a repeat of what happened on the PC side in the old days, where you have one winner, and one, I don't think that's likely. It's definitely not going to happen quickly, and three, it's very it's not something we want. I don't think the end users want it. I don't think anyone would like anyone to have the kind of position that Microsoft has on the PC side, or had in some ways.
Well, they're trying to stop Google, actually. So let me ask you about this, and this is a kind of a practical application that to shed some light on this issue. Today I have an iPhone myself. I shouldn't say this, but I have an iPhone. Not running Opera though, but after this interview I'll download it.
So you're assuming that a web application needs to reside in the cloud.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's no rule there. And particularly if you're looking at what is happening with HTML5 and what you're getting of capabilities, I mean, you're getting local file storage. You're getting rich graphics. You're getting all the capabilities that allow you to write a native application, but using the web standard, so it's cross-platform.
So you still are downloading some sort of input or information into the device?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily either.
I mean, actually, there's a lot of widgets, which are basically web applications that run outside of the browser, available. A lot of them are just simple games, just like the things that you're doing, the apps that you're downloading, like Angry Birds and the like, and they're running just as locally as those applications are doing.
Okay.
There is no particular need. Maybe you want to make the game better by actually using online services and connecting with other people and things like that. But there's no requirement, technically speaking, that you have to do that as the web is moving forward. I mean, you're getting, not all browsers have this yet, and it's something that is gradually happening. But the web, as it's moving forward, there is no difference programming from the web as programming for native, except for things like religion. I like this language more than this one, and it becomes a political and religious discussion, which is not really interesting to anyone.
Okay. So what would be your prediction as to when we're going to see the complete shift from, because the other shift when we started with the iPhone or the iPod with the HTML applications, going to the native applications was very fast. Like suddenly the other applications disappeared. So I don't know how fast do you envision this happening, and what is your prediction in terms of when it's going to be that way?
What I understand is that most of the applications on the iPhone are actually just web applications anyway.
Okay.
That's the numbers that I've heard. I think there's, just like on the PC side, you still have Word there and kind of Excel and the like. You'll still have the native applications. I don't think the apps are going away. I think it's a gradual process. I don't think it's going to happen over one day.
Okay.
And I think, I mean, obviously people that are developing applications, they will have a choice. They can do the native if that's what they want to do. If they want to limit their amount of platforms and they just want to make an
exclusive.
iPhone. Yeah. So that will happen, but I think gradually, because developers would like to reach as many people as possible, it makes sense from kind of, if anything, from an economical point of view, it's a good thing to reach as many people as possible.
Sure.
They will choose the languages that will allow them to reach as many people as possible.
Okay, and finally, on the wars, on the browser wars, because it's a very interesting topic, you have different competitors that are also positioning. It seems that the user loves Opera, so Opera is kind of a very popular browser. And if, for example, myself, I don't use Opera because I'm a lazy person, and I just get the browser that I have, and I don't really care. But I know many people that actually look for Opera.
Yes.
So tell me, what would be the competitive advantage you think Opera has versus other browsers that are trying to reach the mobile space?
Well, I think in a way, I mean, most mobile phones today are not really coming with strong browsers at all. So that's the one thing. You actually get to the internet with Opera. That's a big deal. And secondly, because we do compression, it's really, really, really fast.
Okay.
Most people are still on slow network. So if you're using Opera Mini or Opera Mobile with Turbo, the compression rate means that you're saving money. I mean, up to 90%.
Because of the download?
Because of the compression during download. And you're getting a much better user experience. In addition to that, we spent a lot of time tweaking the user experience. So even if you have an older phone, you'll have something that looks flashy, it looks nice, it's efficient, it allows you to download multiple pages at the same time with tabs. It's visually compelling. And again, it is fast and it saves you money. Plenty of reasons to use it.
Now, how is your relationship with the carriers, or how can your relationship with the carriers in a way that they actually promote Opera? Is that, for example, you're going to save money on costs in delivering the information to the user?
Yeah, what we've been finding is actually is because Opera is faster and saves the end users money. Actually, what happens is the end users use it more.
Okay.
So for the operators, actually, it's a good situation. You're a happier customer, but they actually end up spending more, but the end user gets much more value, because they can browse 10 times more for the same amount of money, or up to 10 times more.
Okay, and I said finally 3 times, but this is actually the last question. You are actually the door to the internet, and the operators are kind of saying, okay, Google and Apple and all these companies in who are making money through our networks, and we're not seeing a penny from that. That I don't think that's true, but that's what they claim. And obviously you are the door, so you know, yes, you are opening the doors to the internet, and, fast, easy,
sure.
So on. So are you being pointed by the operators as the enabler of these other guys that they seem to hate so much, and at the same time they love so much?
No. I think in general the operators like us. I mean, we're generating a lot of traffic for them. We have a great relationship with a lot of operators. We've signed up deals with a lot of operators across the world, including in South America. So this is, I think they see us as a great partner. We provide them with a service that end users like. Mm-hmm. As part of the service, when we are doing deals with the various operators, we customize it slightly for the operators. It's quite often it's a co-branded.
Okay.
It's
so they actually make money through your browser.
Yes.
Okay.
So we will maybe make their services available through the browser, so it's easier for end users to find. Okay. So it's overall it's a win-win. Besides, obviously, the traffic revenues, which are huge. I mean, we're not talking peanuts. I mean, when you're talking about...
Yeah, but they complain about just the traffic. They say traffic is not enough.
Well, I mean, but it's a good start, and the fact that their services are also quite often available to the user as part of the system that we make, it's a win-win. Not only are people generating traffic, going to the site that they would like to go, but the operator properties are also visible to the end user. So people can go wherever they like, but the operator services are also visible. So if they're good, people will use them.
Okay, well, I believe you. So thank you so much for joining us today and being here. Apologies for the camera not working when it was supposed to work. Nosotros nos vamos y volvemos en un ratito con más vídeos.
Cheers.